that I have for my 15-year-old that a lot of people won't agree with, and I don't give he is allowed to have females over in our house. We tend to get tons and tons of boys hanging out in our house. He's allowed to have females. If there's an entire group of kids, they are allowed to close the door. If there's just him and a girl, the door has to stay open. But females are allowed because I am raising sons who are going to understand that you can be friends with a female. You do not have to be interested in that female. You do not have to make a move on that female. You don't have to live in this bubble where only people who want to be together are friends. No. I want him to learn how to grow and respect women as more than just like buddies, those type of buddies, like, friends with benefits and relationships and things like that. I want him to be able to respect a female and say, that's my friend, and them just be friends. Simple. He is allowed to be outside till 9:30. Once in a while, we'll push it to 10:30 if like he's doing something really fun, and usually just for the summer we extend to 10:30. Then we'll be like, okay, yeah. But if it's something around like 10:30 and it's late and it's dark and all that shit, then my husband will go meet him at least halfway or all the way, depending on how far he is. He is allowed to walk around with a shank. We have bought him many of them. He will walk around protected, and I don't care who doesn't like it. My son is not going to walk around outside bare ass with no protection on his body. Obviously he can't take it to school and things like that, but he walks around with them, and he
So this is a lot to unpack, right? She thinks she's being a good mom, right? I understand in the beginning how she said girls are able to come over. You want a safe space. I get it. I get it. Okay. Um, Him walking around with a shank, that's a little suspicious to me. Then you're saying, what was the other thing you're saying? You're saying that he's able to stay out late, all these things. He's 15, right? 9:30 or 10:30, depending on. Okay, I just feel like right now you're giving your son too much freedom. I feel like you're not being more strict with your son. I feel like you're more worried about the extracurricular activities and not worrying about how he gonna be better as a man, right? You trying to make yourself seem like you're doing something good, but you're not doing anything that's pretty cool for your son. You're actually putting your son in a bad position because you got him focusing on the wrong things. You making your son feel like he got to walk around with a shank. You making your son feel like he can be around girls and all this stuff, do all this stuff, focus on the wrong things, being out late. What we focusing on these grades? What are we focusing on? The most important things. I feel like a lot of these kids, the reason why they struggle in the real world is because their parents is too soft on them, right? What is this discipline and the structure that you're giving your son? See, to be honest, the father should be in charge of the son. The father should be laying the rule down for his son. The father should be telling his son, you need to focus on X, Y, Z. This ain't no time to be worried about girls coming over the house and hanging out and all that stuff. You need to focus on how you going to do this, how you going to do this, how you going to do this. Where's the structure? See, she's giving too much. She's giving too much leniency, giving him too much freedom. How is this behavior, this way you're teaching him, going to help him in the future? It doesn't. You let him walk around with a shank. You let him be out all night, and you let him have girls or whoever at your house. What is this teaching your child? Absolutely nothing. What you're telling your child is you're giving him freedom by letting him do all these things, but he's not working for it. So you can do all these things, we don't care, but you're not putting in no work. That is the reason why we see some of these kids come up into the real world and they fail. Because look how they living. Look what the parents is teaching them. The parents is trying to teach him social and freedom and being with the shank on you. Like, how is that going to transition to the real world to where you can make some money and not be dependent on the government? You interacting with girls and all this stuff. How is that going to stop him from having baby mamas in the future if now you letting him hang out with girls inside the house? See, that's what it is. These kids is messed up because of the parenting.
always make sure he has something, especially if he's going to hang out farther away from our house, like on the other side of town. He definitely will have one. I don't give a I'm raising kids who know that things in life can happen. Shit happens, dangerous situations happen. And there's so many times where you will get put into a situation where it's like wrong place, wrong time, and you get caught up in some shit that didn't even have nothing to do with you, and then you're gone. No, my son's going to have some type of chance to survive and get the fuck out of a situation.
Well, the one thing I have to say is this: then you're letting your son be out late, and he's going into environments where he need a shank. What needs to change? Don't go to those environments. You can't go to those environments. Have your kid focus on things here where he's so tired he don't even want to go hang out. See, parents think that this is good parenting. Well, nah, just in case stuff happens. Obviously, she must have grew up in the hood. Obviously, she must have had a tough upbringing. Obviously, she's bringing her upbringing into her child's mind, and she's putting that in her child's mind. But in order for you to not have to worry about a shank, your kid having a shank, how about we tell your kid you're not going over there? How about we telling your kid if something cracking, walk away, get away. You see what I'm saying? So you teaching your son the wrong thing. That's why I said the man needs to be in charge of this. Because the man gonna be logical and say, nah, bro, you need to get up out of there. How about we learn how to fight? You see what I'm saying? We look at Carmelo Anthony. He had a knife. What if he would just fought? He wouldn't be in jail and somebody would be alive. This is where the bad kids come from right here. Because you think that you parenting, but you're not. You saying you can be out all night, you can have a shank, you can have girls over, you can do it. You ain't paying no bills, you ain't getting your life together, you ain't focused on X, Y, Z, you focusing on everything else. Because you accepting it. So do you think this kid is gonna grow up and be somebody? From what I'm hearing, I would say not. Because he's going to be worried about girls. He's going to be worried about being out all night. He's going to be worried about, is he safe in his environment? You see what you're creating? You're creating a monster.
My son is allowed to say hell and damn. Those are the only curses he can say at this moment in front of us. I'm not dumb. He's a teenager. I know he's saying stuff outside. When he turns 16, he gets the word shit. He gets unlocked as ages go on. But when he turned 14, he got hell and damn unlocked. When he turned 16, he gets the word shit. Like I said, we're not dumb. We know he says bad words outside. You're not saying them in the house to us or around us. That's also a thing. You cannot curse at us. You can tell me something that happened and be like, oh yeah, what the hell, whatever the case is, or damn, but you're not cursing at me. We don't play those games. But when he's an adult, he can say whatever the hell he wants as long as it's not at me. That's another thing. My kids, none of them are allowed to do sleepovers. My oldest has never, ever been to a sleepover before. He's stayed at my mom's house, and that's it. Well, his bio dad, but nobody else's house he has ever stayed at. I don't do that. I know I'm a hypocrite, but I let everybody sleep here because I know that I'm 100% present. I am not the mom who is gonna let them stay home and me go run the streets and go hang out and not know what they're getting into. I am the mom who is very, very present and very aware of what's happening, and they all call me mom.
I definitely agree with that, though. No sleepovers is very tough because you don't understand how everybody else's family is operating behind closed doors at night. I do respect that.
Like, they literally call me mama, and they'll write to me and be like, oh yeah, hey mama, or they'll be like, that's my second mom when they introduce me to people. Like, I be having 8, 9 kids sometimes in my house. Majority of the time is 3, 4, extra kids, but 2 of them is going with us to Florida. These are my babies. I know for a fact the type of parent that I am, and I don't really know many of the other ones. Sometimes kids stay in my house and I've never spoken to their mom, and I'll be like, hey, I need to speak to your mom, and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I wrote to her telling her that you wanted to speak to her, but she said just tell you that it's okay for me to stay, and they don't really want to talk. So I'm like, can never be me, because if that was my kid, I would want to know every person that lives there. I would want to know information. There's so many times where I've reached out to kids staying in my house, moms, and I'm like, this is my name, this is my husband's name, these are the people who live here, this is our address, and they're like, oh, okay, thanks. They didn't care.
So what we see is that, she's trying to be a cool mom, right? Do I agree with some of her ways of parenting? Absolutely not. But at least she's trying, and I can give her that. Some of these parents ain't trying, like how she's exposing and revealing. Some of these parents don't care where their kids are. Some of these parents don't care what their kids do, and that's why these kids grow up and they mess up in the society. But I understand that she's trying to be the cool mom, but what you're teaching your son You should be teaching your son to not have a mind frame like you as far as walking around with a shank, going into environments you shouldn't go, hanging out with girls, all of that. It is very important for a male to be taught by a male to understand the importance of structure, discipline, and all of that, and staying out of the streets. But she's trying. At least she's trying. I definitely give her credit on that. But some of her things could be tailored to be a little bit better so that boy can become a man. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. As always, keep things rock, keep it going. Tap in to know for tomorrow's show. Link in the show description below.